So I'm Tim Allen. I'm chair of the Finance Committee. I know most of you, but not all of you. Felix Cruz Tirado, are you a city employee? Or are you on for a specific item?
Yep, I'm with finance budget analyst.
Oh, great. Nice to meet you.
You
Thank
too.
you. And so we'll get started. The other two members of the Finance Committee on the City Council are Tracy Whitfield, excuse me, and Zeta Govan. I haven't heard from Tracy, but Zeta just called me and said she had a conflict with this meeting, so she would not be on it. I don't see any other city councilors on it, so we'll just move along. Robert St. Lawrence, are you also a city employee?
Yes, with Springfield Public Schools, I'm the interim chief information officer.
Oh, after Scott went to Hartford.
Yeah, Paul Foster. Yep.
Paul Foster. Yeah. Okay. Nice to meet you. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Get started. Yeah. Thanks. Let's get started. Pat Burns, I want to give us by the way, we have a public speak out at 6:30. I'm at my house, which is 15 minutes from City Hall, and public speak out has 14 or 16 items tonight. So if we could get out of here by 6 o'clock, it would be beneficial to me to get down to City Hall. But let's do our best. So Pat, February revenue versus expenditure report, please.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Tonight I'll be presenting the February revenue versus expenditure report, which represents the first 8 months of fiscal year 2023. I did mention last month that we were digging into the natural gas and electricity budgets to see if we had a shortfall. The March expenses came in less than we had projected, so we're hoping that we will not need an appropriation order from either reserve for contingencies or free cash and address that within the utility budget.
Okay.
And also, we are in the final stages of reviewing the snow and ice budget. And we can't have a deficit in the snow and ice budget or it's added to next year's tax rate. So if it does come out that we need an appropriation, that will be coming in the May meeting, but we're going to try to see if DPW can absorb that within their budget also.
All right, great. Excellent. Lindsay, do you have anything to add to that or anybody else to Pat's report? Okay. Any other, I'm trying to see who we have on here. Any other counselors come on?
I'm here, Counselor Allen. Tracy.
Tracy, hi, how are you, Tracy?
Good, you?
Good, thanks. So we just did item 1, Pat's revenue versus expenditure report, which I'm about to close out unless you have a question.
No, I'm good.
All right, great, thank you. All right, moving on. Thank you, Pat. Moving on to number 2, parks. A Dr. Seuss Foundation grant match required, $100,000. Who's somebody here to talk about that?
Sure, I can speak to that.
All right, great.
So this is $100,000 grant from the Dr. Seuss Foundation. It is for a Dr. Seuss sculpture in Forest Park, and there is a match with the grant. It's $200,000 from FY23 PAYGO. The sculpture is in the first phase of development at the Forest Park Horticulture Center, and it will depict a young Dr. Seuss and his father.
Sounds nice. Can we absorb the 100,000? All right. Is that something you guys agree to in finance?
Yes.
Okay. And that comes out of PAYGO. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions on that from anybody? Not seeing any hands or voices, hearing any voices. So we'll consider that one closed and move on. These things, of course, get approved at the council meeting, so they're not approved from here, but I'd like to get any questions we have here so we can know what we're talking about at the council meeting. All right, item 3, I just lost it off my screen. What is item 3? Can somebody, oh, here we go. Springfield mural lighting project, no match required. Lindsay, do you know about that?
I do, and I don't know if that's why Brian's here.
Yeah, that would be mine.
right,
Yeah, Counselor, this is a $28,000 500 grant that is being provided from the state under the Regional Economic Development Organization's grant program. This is to light murals from the Fresh Paint Mural Festival. So we have a couple of them. The first one is going to be in Mason Square, which was a wall that had lighting that had to be removed in order to have the mural installed. So this will reinstall that lighting to light up that mural, and then we hope to light some others.
Nice. All right. Anything required from us, Brian?
No, nothing required.
All right. Any questions on that from anybody? All right, seeing none, moving along. Thanks, everybody. Fire, hazardous materials grant program, 2509, et cetera, et cetera. Is BJ here, or Lindsay, are you doing that, or?
No, I'll speak to that. It's a grant for $2,509. It buys a couple things for emergency response capabilities for the fire department. The grant funds are going to be used for 2 ammonia sensors, 1 chlorine lamp sensor, and 3 recycle damaged D35 kits. I don't know what that is.
Okay, well, you did a good job representing anyway. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody here from the fire department that wants to speak on that? Any questions? Not seeing any questions. That one sounds good. It's only $2,500, which usually that's below our threshold of things we really talk about much. So that's good. Moving along to item 5, TJ O'Connor, donations over $4,800. Is that you, Lindsay, or anybody?
Yeah,
know?
I can speak to that. If that's not why Helen's here, but it's donations from 25 separate individuals over the period from January 1st to March 31st. The most substantial of which was $1,300 from Rocky's Hardware. The donations don't have any specific purpose, and they'll be used to assist in funding TJO's operational expenses.
All right, great. That's great. Helen, did you want to say anything on that?
No, Lindsay did an excellent job of presenting, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I should have called on you before, but that's all right, as long as we're all set. Next one, donation fire, $200. Someone, M. Scully has made a donation of $200. Is that?
Yeah,
basically-
Maureen and Timothy Scully made a donation of $200 on March 3rd to the fire department. The funds don't have a specific purpose, and they'll be used to assist the fire department with their operational expenses.
Okay. Thank you. Moving along to item 7, transfer from reserve for contingencies to the Office of Human Resources for $11,774. CAFO certification, has that occurred?
Yeah, so we need to transfer over to HR Personal Services for 2 reasons. The first is that we had a retirement and a retirement payout. And the second is that that person who retired was a part-time position that they want to bring to a full-time position. So with their salary savings for the year, we're projecting they're going to need about $12,000 to make all that happen for the remainder of the fiscal year.
And what department was that occurring in?
HR.
In HR itself, all right. And it's okay with you guys in finance? Is there any questions from anybody here to speak to it besides Lindsay? Lindsay,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, may I speak?
It's a transfer from a reserve to the Office of Human Resources to make a part-time position full-time.
Reserve for contingencies out of the general fund.
What exact position is it?
It's a finance analyst. I believe the position is for a finance analyst. It was a part-time position that they need to bring up to full-time for the needs of the department.
Just watching your dollars go into your tank.
Okay.
Back into your wallet with the
Did they ask to build that into the budget in their budget
Yes.
request?
Yep, it's also built into the FY24 budget. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Tracy. Item 8, we're moving along well here. Bills of prior year, finance $3,100 and change. Lindsay, any particular thing here to point out, or is it just a bunch of different bills?
It's a bill of a prior year, and it's due to the fact it's for our contract for Symphony Hall management with MGM. There's a CPI built into the contract, and there was not enough held over from the prior fiscal year to include the amount increase for CPI. So the CPI is $3,000 that was added to the invoice. So we just need $3,000 to be able to pay the invoice. The rest of the money we already have set aside.
Okay. Bills of prior year. Okay, that sounds good. Any questions from anybody? Thank you. That was item 8. We're on to item 9, order accepting Mass General Law 44, et cetera, establishing a PEG access and cable related fund. I am not understanding this totally myself, so hopefully somebody can help. Kathy, you're muted.
Yep, just figured that out. Thanks. Good evening. Sorry about that. This order is on as a request to accept a special act of the legislature in order to create a PEG access, which the PEG stands for Public, Educational, and Governmental Channels. It's basically what Focus Springfield takes care of for us with the programming for schools and education, the public, et cetera. So what we're hoping to do is take the monies that the Comcast franchise agreement, the cable franchise agreement, they have to send the city quarterly payments based on the number of subscribers. And what we're hoping to do is put that money into this special revenue fund so that it can be set aside just for public access and cable related matters for the city, with the understanding that each time any money comes out of the fund, it's subject to appropriation by the mayor per order and the council. It would take, if approved, it would take effect on July 1st. So it would be effective with FY24. And it requires a majority vote. It doesn't need a 2/3 vote.
Okay, and what would you say the spirit of it is behind it? You know, what are we trying to pull off here?
Well, because the cable related money can only be spent for these certain uses, right now it's going into the general fund, but we'd like to set it aside in the special account so that we make sure it's only being spent for the particular reasons that the statute allows. And this is this is an opportunity that the Department of Revenue has brought to our attention, and we're just hoping to get the council's support for that.
All right, great. Are you in sync with finance on that, you and Lindsay or whomever else? Is that something you guys know about in finance, Lindsay?
Yes, we do.
And we also consulted with the comptroller as well.
Okay, great.
And ultimately, Councilor, just real quick, we're going to be entering into an agreement with Focus Springfield, as for the terms and conditions of how we send the money to them, et cetera. And we'll be asking for a transfer of the funds and for that purpose as well. But that'll be at the next meeting. But for tonight, we're just asking for the acceptance of the special act so we can create this fund on July 1st.
All right, great. That's very clear. Thank you. All right, that leaves us with 2. Robert, you're on deck now. I mean, you had it nice and easy so far, but healthcare for the homeless revolving fund, would that be you, Helen? Do you have something on that?
That is me. Oh, let me come off of our video so I can say, hey, that is me. Young No, during our audit, said that the health services for the homeless needs to have a revolving fund. We bill for services for our health center, and it will go into the revolving fund. Patrick Burns is here, and he is more than capable of talking about this as well, should you have questions. But this is as a result of our audit.
So you're really just setting up a revolving fund is the spirit.
That would be correct, Counselor. And as I said, the brilliant Patrick Burns can speak to this if necessary.
Well, Patrick, with that intro, why don't
I'm
you?
waiting for the brilliant one to show up.
I don't know. Pat, if you want to add anything.
Sure. Back in 2017, as part of the Municipal Modernization Act, the council passed an ordinance setting up 7 revolving funds. So what we want to do tonight is add an 8th revolving fund. So this is actually an amendment to an ordinance. So I believe because it's an amendment that tonight it can just go to step 1 and be sent to committee.
Okay, that sounds good.
But presently, the funds are accounted for in a special revenue fund. So nothing's really going to change. It's really the categorization that we report to the state that it should be in a revolving fund as opposed to a special revenue fund. So we're hoping to make that as seamless as possible so that the finance folks at the health department will continue doing things the way they're doing in terms of depositing receipts and their expenditures. It would just really be an accounting device that's going to be changing.
Okay. So you have no concern, you know all about it, you have no concern, it's a good thing.
And the internal auditor tells me to do something, we do it, so.
Attaboy, that's good. All right, Young, no, thank you, Young. I don't think he's on the meeting, but that gets us to item 11. If I'm not mistaken, we covered everything up to then. And that was item 11 is Robert's item from the school department about a contract for leasing computers. Robert, you're up.
Yes, thank you, Counselor. So the Springfield Public Schools is requesting that the city award a 4-year lease purchase agreement to Hewlett Packard Financial Services Company for a lease purchase financing for our laptops and our laptops for computers and staff. This is a 4-year term which supports the implementation of student and staff computer replacement policies adopted by the Springfield School Committee in December of 2013. And that policy ensures the replacement of laptop computers every 4 years. The school department has used this 4-year lease purchase cycle in previous years, and it's worked out well for our purchases. And we appreciate the consideration this evening.
Okay, and so it's been something we've done before. I've seen it before on our agendas, and it's working out well. That's why you're coming back for, et cetera.
Yes.
And how many computers are in this? Is it for every student plus faculty?
Yeah, so we basically replace about a quarter of the staff. So that's around 1,250. So we do a quarter every year. And for the students, we replace incoming 3rd, 6th, and 9th grade students. And we have about 6,140 devices. So in total, this would be for this year, this purchase would be for 7,390 laptops.
And then again, next year would be, the number might change a little, but the concept is the same.
That's correct, Counselor.
All right. Sounds good. Been talked about here before. Counselor Fenton usually asks questions on these extended lease purchase agreements, but he's not here. He'll certainly see it on the agenda. Any questions from anyone? From the finance team, Lindsay, Pat, anybody? Any questions about this that might be a concern or something we should watch out for? I'm hearing silence, so I guess that means no at this point. We usually approve these things, Robert, but we obviously take the vote at the council meeting. Could get questions there. Will you be at the meeting?
I will.
All right, great. All right, anybody else on anything we've talked about here? Any other things we need to discuss?
Well, if I may, just a clarifying point. Pat Burns, you are so brilliant. I don't need to be at the city council meeting, right? Because you got this. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
I'll be there.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Good handoff there, Helen. Good catch, Pat. Anyway, all right. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance. We'll be at the city council meeting at 7. This stuff will come up again for a vote. Just thanks for moving along quickly so I have a shot at getting down to City Hall by 6:30. Appreciate it, everybody. Have a good night. Thank you.